So my name's Pablo. Um, I'm from San Diego. I started running about during COVID time, so that would be about 5 years now. When I started running, I started off with the ambition of just doing one marathon because that was the goal that was in my head. It's after the first marathon, I kind of realized that like, oh, I think this is something I could push myself in because it went better than I expected. And I continued running for about, I started like really just in a sense following either guides offline or going out with runs with friends. And I started kind of enjoying the aspect of racing a lot more, where it was just, oh, this is happening next week. So I'll sign up. And I got really excited. Within about a year and a half, I ran 6 marathons, which was a bad idea after reflecting on them. But I knew I loved the marathon distance because the marathon distance showed me a lot more of where I wanted to push myself. In reality, like I took the pros and cons of a race where it's like I see that each marathon will have its own aspect to it, whether it's like weather, altitude, or the course itself. Um, and I think my last marathon that I ran was the LA Marathon in 2023, I think. And in that marathon, I kind of, it was the tail end of my last marathon of the first six that I did. Where I was kind of still pushing to push myself to ultimately just get faster, but also getting under like PRs. And I PR'd with a 317 at a certain point, and I think that was the one where I probably was the least prepared, but I know I kind of just pushed where I wanted to. And the last one that I ran before I started training with you, I hit like a 3 hours and 49 minutes, which was probably my worst one. And I think after finishing that marathon, I was like, I'm definitely need to change this. Just because I was kind of winging a lot of the training, and I think a big part of it was knowing that when I showed up to the start line of that marathon of 2023, the biggest question I had was like, I don't think I should be here. And it was a big part that I had been running with a like an injury that to me was small at the beginning. It ended up being a big injury because I ran the marathon with like a stress fracture, and that was like probably the worst idea I would have had because that took me out about 4 months of doing a lot of strength work therapy and everything in between. Um, so I think when I began like looking at even coaching in different spaces, I think I ran into like more into uh your online platform and Instagram. And to me, a big part of like finding a coach was like I want somebody who I could see maybe like is pushing themselves to something that like seeking more of that maybe motivation of like, okay, this person is doing it this way. And I know that's something I wanted within my space because I worked as a trainer and like kind of in that therapy area for about 5 years. And I know a big part of like what I wanted to see is somebody who's pushing even in scenarios where it's like, damn, like I don't even know how they're doing that. And I think when I ran into like kind of your stuff, I was like, oh, like she's in this area of like high level competition with, I think when I saw a lot of your stuff was like doing like, uh, I know it was like Olympic stuff, but then it's like you had a baby and it's like, wow, she's still running and that's insane. So I needed some of that form, right? And I think as I like kind of interact with some of the other runners you worked with, I was like, okay, like she's doing something that these people see progression, and it's a progression that is both um I would say understanding because I think it was one part where it was like, okay, some stuff's gonna work and some stuff may not work, and it's gonna be an ever-changing training cycle. And I think that's where I started with the journey. And I know we began training in November of 2023, I would assume, because that was the year I stopped running and had to pick it up again. The goal was to begin to train and run the marathon in Oregon in 2024. We started in November, and I think early on in our training, I began to start like my aspect of racing again, where I began to feel more confident in pushing for a PR. And I did a 5K, I did the half marathon, and a lot of the portions was we were racing as we were training, and I was definitely I was hitting PRs without forcing it. And I think my 10K or my 5K was something that before just hitting under sub 20 was like, oh, this is good. Like I think I pushed myself. And I think the first race that I showed up to was a 5K at the beginning of the year, and I went under 19 minutes, which I think it was like 18:35. And within that one was like, other than high school, it was the first time that I began to touch the 5 minute pace at race pace. And from there on, I went on to like maybe 2 weeks later racing a half marathon. And that was the second time I hit sub 130. But to me, racing that race under sub 130 was different because it was such a hard course that it was really kind of learning how to pace a longer race at that pace, right? And then from then on, I think as we were getting ready for Oregon, uh, I made mistakes where I raced something maybe I shouldn't have at the pace I needed to. But then after that, I think working with you to like, okay, like there is no real reason for me to push now because I got hurt. And during that injury, to me, it was like I personally, it was two different settings where like I had gone through an injury before that took me off for a prolonged period of time. And I think when I was working with you, it's like, okay, like I know I have to step back because I could race this marathon and just be in pain for 26 miles, which I was not ready to do again. So I pulled off away from there, took my recovery as I needed to, and I think I was able to like step away quicker, like knowing that like when we train for the first half of that race, I was able to build everything properly. And that injury was just an injury that maybe needed to happen. And then stepped off. But when I started training with you, I knew I was already going to be doing Chicago. And I think once we came back into the Chicago build, it was really getting ready to just get to the race in one piece. Um, and I think that first real cycle, I would say we did it towards Chicago. Um, it was about managing the speed, but also um, not put over pushing, knowing I had that history of an injury. Part of me was like working in the space within therapy was like, okay, I know I need to be doing more on my side. And I think for me, it has always been like the part of having you work with me with the plans is always gives me something that I'm able to look at it and know what I have to do each day. But also, like on days where I felt good, being able to push a little bit more, but not overdo it either. And I think um, getting to the starting line um, of Chicago to me was the win because um, not being able to do like Oregon was like a rough time because it was like I haven't raced the marathon in over a year. So just getting to Chicago in like one real load, it felt like it was the biggest win for me. And I think after that, um, Chicago was great. I ran like maybe the most consistent race I've had run, and that resulted in my PR, which was 3:12. And I knew that was like riding a big high of like, okay, I'm back into the marathon. And I think before that, I had even told you, it's like, I want to run Chicago, but I know I already got into London, so not overdoing Chicago to make it to London too but also have a quick recovery between marathons since it is kind of a short window. Um, and yeah, and then that's where we picked up the last one. And I know, uh, I think as I kind of expressed, London for me, it's a race that didn't go the way I wanted to, but I think going into it, I was very happy that I was able to do the most amount of work I've ever done in a marathon. I did more speed, I did more distance, and now I know that my body could sustain the distance without having an over, like mentally, I wasn't as fatigued as before. Because I think even when I train by myself or when we train in the first cycle, getting to 50 miles was just seemed like a lot of work. And like for myself, I have school and work. And a lot of the times it's like, okay, what window can I push this into? And I think slowly in the London build, exploring the idea of running early, running late, but also cutting runs half and half was
Yeah.
something that I kind of gauged a little bit different. Um, and yeah, I think that's where we're at. I think when I showed up to London, it was a feeling where I was like, okay, I'm here, and I know that I knew I was ready. I knew that my body was um, maybe in the setting, like I wasn't scared to know that I wanted a PR. I was ready to hold a pace. I think in the long runs prior to that, I think I was looking at it and I did about I think I did 5 20-mile runs. And if in reality, before Chicago, I think I did two. Prior to that, every marathon I maybe did one, or I never, or there was times where I never got to 20 miles into my cycles. So knowing going into London, I had the idea that I could sustain that distance without any pain or any mental fatigue. Um, and then London was London. I think London, I got there knowing that I wanted to push, and I was okay with everything that was going around me. And I know for me, like London itself was a lesson where I wanted to show up, but I wanted to push. I know before the race, there was a lot of conversation I wish I would have been able to shut off even more because I think I'm a person that works very much on like what's around me. And like before the race, there was just too much conversation of like it's gonna be a hot day. There's a lot of circumstances coming in. Um, Coming from San Diego at the moment, it was hot here, so I try to avoid a lot of that in my head. But I think the nature of the race was seeing how that heat impacted everybody, and then just facing like that new space of like, okay, I pushed until my body couldn't. And I think at the end of the day, that race, I'm 100% okay with how it turned out because I would have almost regretted more if I would have not pushed as much, knowing that if I would have finished even with a better time but pushing less, I probably would have questioned a lot more. But I think me taking a vacation after it and reflecting on it now allows me to be okay with what happened. After the race, like I started running 2 weeks ago, or when I got back, basically a week ago, and nothing feels off. Nothing is telling me to, Nothing is really telling me that I should change anything, but I know right now just taking into account what happened, but also slowly just kind of getting back into a flow of running and then doing short races for now just because summer, I don't have any big plans for anything. But
No,
yeah,
I think I love that. I mean, the way you handled London was really like I feel like a wise, like it takes a lot of for us, especially how you like shifted your mindset from like I'm chasing these big goals to just like gratitude. Like I did like look at my training. I did the most that I've done. I'm so proud of my body. And now how you're recovering, like recovering well, your body was prepared for the demands that you were set out to do. It's
yeah,
just that the weather and all the things that happen, like we can't control everything. And that's the thing about the marathon is like no
yeah,
matter how you had it, you had such a solid build, right? Like it was like
Yeah,
so smooth. It was like butter, like so smooth. Everything was set up for you. You like, and it's still like whatever, what all the things that you did leading up to London, like it's still there, and you can
yeah,
still build on it. So like, yes, the outcome didn't necessarily go the way you envisioned and how you wanted. The goals were not exactly met, but you had like the mindset that you had, and then this focus of now I'm here, like I'm gonna finish, and I'm gonna be proud of myself no matter what. And
right,
you're gonna keep that, like this every single marathon we do,
yeah,
we grow. like like whether it's a great high moment versus a very low moment, like you grow and you just become this like more mature, more experienced. Every single marathon just builds you up. And so that's exactly what's happening. And I see it too with your when you did your reflection and things like that, like a lot of the things that you learned and how you experienced it. I feel like that really stuck with me. Like I'm very proud of you. And you have like flourish like
yeah,
from like yes kind of like managing injuries at the very beginning of the training or like as you were leading up to Eugene,
right,
adjusting expectations. Really what I feel like this whole training, what I feel from you like too is like it's been a lot about patience and really
right.
learning your body, learning and understanding when to push, when to pull back. And I feel like you definitely got that here. Like towards the end of these cycles, you like really become so in tune with your body, that I feel like you had confidence there, like knowing what
Yeah,
your body can handle. Like, do you say that? Like you gained a lot of like understanding of yourself.
yeah. I would say, like a big part is knowing that, like I think one thing that m- we I've focused a lot maybe within the training was being able to finish stronger than I started. And I think like the idea for me was there where I think even the 10K that like I think I didn't race as much as I usually do before London because I really just wanted the training to be training. Because before I would maybe do like 3 to 4 races before the actual marathon. This one, I think I only did a 10K. And a big part of it was like there was a half marathon I could have done before, but I think my body wasn't where I wanted it to be as far as like pains and aches. I think the week before that marathon that half I would have done, I think I was like dealing with a little bit of pain. And like just from the past, it's like it's not worth it. I'd rather just do my 20 how they're meant to be, and then I'll focus somewhere else. And I think as I wrote, like my plan in London was to stay consistent at the beginning where I crossed, which is really insane because I think I crossed the half marathon mark and I was only about like 30, 40 seconds away from my half marathon PR. And within that race, there was no signs of me, or there was really no signs in my body telling me to slow down at the halfway mark. And I think it was really just knowing like, okay, I might be able to do a negative second half of the marathon. That's not how it went, but that's how it felt.
It
Um,
felt good.
but it was definitely from that confidence of knowing like, okay, I've done this before, and I just need to stay with it. Um, but yeah, I think it is. Even now, I know I'm getting back into the routine of training or kind of maintaining what I have or where I am because I'll do a lot of kind of fundraisers from here in the summer, just short or whatever. And I don't think, in the sense, I have a race in like 2 weeks, but it's a like a half. And then these last couple of days that I've been running, like just kind of easy or anything around there, um, like I think my body kept a lot of the fitness that like before I would think like, oh, I'm doing too much. Like last week, I had to hold myself back because I was like, ah, I'm okay with this amount of mileage for this week. And then, um, I don't think it sounds like a wild idea, but I think in the half marathon that I have here in San Diego, I take away a lot of the variables that maybe I had in London of like traveling and changing and doing all this stuff. Since I have that one close to me, um, I think I could like just run it for the sake of fun, but also within that same idea, I'm pretty sure. even if like I'll PR because it doesn't take any more work than I've done before. Um, I think like I want to go out to that race and just kind of enjoy it. And in the same aspect, I could easily see it being a PR race because it's like, oh, okay, like this isn't that hard anymore. And I think I have more in my favor in this race than maybe London or anything like that. So I know going into the summer, going into a break, I'm able to enjoy it a little bit different, push when I need to, but also just sustain for now. But yeah,
Honestly, I love when runners do that, where they like kind of just shift focus because marathon is like, yeah, you're
hard.
focused. You're like it's hard, right?
Yeah,
When you have the summer and it's just like low key, low pressure, I feel like
yeah,
you do better like as far as like when you don't have that pressure also. So
right,
like when you say like I feel like I can PR and I can do, yeah, like because you don't have this stress or pressure of this like I have to do this. So when you can
right,
make it fun, you're being very intentional with your training. You're still doing the work.
right,
Maybe it's not like I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna just like like no, you like go and your body has already done such hard things that like
right,
when you
right,
go and do this, it's like this is actually easy. So
right.
I'm super excited to see
Yeah,
how your summer training goes and how like you do. Um, so I guess like just like looking at yourself as overall,
yeah,
like what do you feel like you've learned the most about like just like of yourself and like
right.
internal mindset set shifts or like how
Yeah,
you approach your training like how have you grown as a runner?
I would say, as you mentioned before, is the patience and being able to. There was like two things. I think it's patience and gratitude, because I think, like Oregon probably taught me a lot, like training for Oregon, because I think when we get to the point where like stuff gets out of our control, we maybe begin to like try to blame everything around us. And I think when I got hurt into Oregon, I kind of was just like, I don't like, should I even be racing a marathon? Because it's like obviously it's not working. And I think like for myself going into Chicago, Chicago maybe had a more setback or like had a couple of areas where I began to feel pain. And I think within the same idea of the marathon is that it's not supposed to be easy, even training. So that like there was those moments in Chicago where I felt like areas where it's like, okay, I'm starting to feel the pain that took me out before. And I think even talking with like um kind of different people is like, well, yeah, it is supposed to hurt. There's days where your body's supposed to be tired. There's days where you have to give credit to the 20 miles, and maybe on Tuesday your legs are not working, like not working at the same speed. But in this last cycle for like London, I think it was a little different because I think um the first week that we went over 50 miles, it was like maybe 4 weeks into the training. And to me, it's like, I've never done this. I've never been at 50 miles for like more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I think as we were getting into it, I think the first week that I hit 60 miles, I was like, okay, I think this is my peak. I think we've hit like where like maybe now we start regressing or we start pushing different. And I think during those days, I think when I began to feel a little bit of pain, that's where patience kicked in, where I was like, okay, I just have to get out there. I have to show up on the hard days. The other days, I just have to make sure I'm moving the right way and not making an injury worse or so on. And I think as I kept on doing the week after the week, my body was adjusting as it needed to because I think when I did 60s, another week I did 65, and then one week I did about 67 or 68. And at that moment, it's like I might be doing too much. And I think the way that that schedule worked out was that I was able to use, not in the sense distractions, but me going to run with like run during the marathon, go pace people. To me, it's like, oh, this is incredibly like I'm running into mile 67 or like mile 60s, but my body still feels like I can push speed. And knowing that like that was okay because I knew I had one recovery day on Monday that I could get back into the flow of things. Um, so I think I'm grateful for the idea that I know my body could sustain that much distance without falling apart, but also I know that in the same virtue of being able to get there. I had to have patience to get there because I think before I probably would allow some type of pain derail me and just kind of stress me out on being like, oh, like I need to pull back now because if not, I'm out. So now looking back at it, it has to be a mixture of both. That as a runner, I know it's gonna take a lot of patience, but at the end of the day, like, because when I work with the psychologist and stuff, she kind of really put into me that like you have to be grateful for the work that your body's already done because nobody could take away that work that you put in. And if you could hold yourself accountable to like, okay, I'm allowed to take today easy because last week my body felt it. And I think it's that I think even training with you within these last couple, maybe year or so, it's the cycle of knowing that some weeks it's going to be rough. London, I could really tell you that I had maybe two bad workouts where like in those two workouts I felt defeated, but in reality everything was show up, push it and see if where it goes, right? Um,
Mhm.
I know like as I recover, change it up and stuff, my biggest focus now would be like, okay, I need to do maybe more work on the strength side, more work on this side, and just kind of fix a little of those things because I don't know if it's my hamstrings are weak or something, but that's the only thing that like I think within London like it cramped up and there was like no coming
Yeah.
back from it. But
And that
I think
happened at mile 18,
it
the
happened
cramping?
early. Yeah, I think
Earlier. I
well
think you
no,
mentioned, yeah.
yeah, I think mile 18 was when I got the first one. And I think like a big part of it was I got the cramp and I was like, okay, like let me stretch. And I started to run again right after that, and I was able to get back into a pace where I felt comfortable. But then after that, it just was like kind of on and off that it was really a an idea of like moving from goal to goal, but also at the end it was like I know I want to finish running because I think um in that race I began to see people like either pull off, fall apart from like mile like I think it was like before the half where people were like dehydrated or people were falling apart early.
Yeah,
Um
it was hard for a lot of people. I've
yeah,
talked to a lot of runners and I had two other runners there and it was just a hard it was hot. It was
yeah,
warm and
yeah. It
uh
was I think and I think this is the first race I've ever had to do that starts at 9. Because I think every marathon I've done, it has been a 6 a.m. start.
yeah,
And I think the 9, because I woke up that day and I went to go have breakfast, but I had no appetite. And I think I knew it was like, I can't really do that. I can't really eat. And I had as much as I could, knowing that I still had to like go on the train, go wait and stuff like that. But it's a whole different aspect that it's like, okay, that played whatever factor it needed to play. So it's kind of weird. I missed the idea of waking up at 4 in the morning, getting the stuff ready, going out, and being ready to run by 6.
yeah,
Because I think at that point it takes those factors of thinking about the day a lot less. But yeah, I mean those were like different aspects that
yeah,
happened there that we'll go from there.
exactly.
Yeah,
But Um, yeah, so you said too, like in your training, you were getting up into miles. A lot of those miles were like split up, right? And like looking at your schedule, like, okay, I'm going to do part of the run in the morning, part of the run in the afternoon.
yeah,
Those were optional though, right? Like those, like, hey, this is
correct.
like a, like you could do that. So it wasn't like you had to like do it, but like, did you like feel like, okay,
I
well, I'm gonna
I
do
think my
it?
I talked to no, I think like for me my brain is like I don't know if it's optional. Um, I think like there was one time where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that one just because like I think the day was too much. But for the most part, it was really like, okay, like it's
You
only
made it
three
happen.
miles. Yeah, and like I think it was like the parts of it is like it's optional, but I knew inside for me I was gonna feel like "Ah, I probably should go do it even if it's slower. And I think I personally just work like that for myself too. When it's like if it for me the big part of training too is like it's on the schedule. If I have time to do it, I'm gonna have to go do it. And like I would say my time management is in the sense because my work is a morning job and stuff like that is knowing that I have times where I have to go do it and it's not the best conditions, which to me is perfectly okay, which didn't translate, but I think a lot of the times, like for example, right now I think it's very hum or not humid, but it's hot. And I know like I have maybe about 3 hours to go do my run, so I'm okay with it. Like I think a big part of it is like I'll prepare for it, I hydrated, I got food, and I'll be fine in the run. It just maybe I have to adjust when I'm running, but it doesn't happen too much.
You were super consistent. Like there was not very rare that you would be like, I'm not doing this. And if you did, I was
Yeah,
like,
that's all right.
um,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So that's, yeah, I noticed that. So overall, like, what do you feel like your experience has been for you working with me? Every like the training, the structure, the communication,
yeah,
like just like everything. Like, what kind of like feedback do you have? Like,
right.
anything you want to share as far as
Yeah,
how things
I
worked?
I think for me, I know like what I was looking for in the sense of um like I really just needed the structure of the training, right? Like I wanted to know like what am I doing today? Because that's what I need. And I know like I think for you, you made it in a sense very easy where it's like, okay, like this week I have to make sure that I'm okay to basically do what I need to do for the long runs or the hard runs. Um, and I think in my schedule, I'm able to make it work how it needs to work. That it kind of provides me with almost that setting. I was like, I really don't have an excuse to not do it today, right? So in that aspect, I'm okay with like to me the training is like I know what I'm doing and when I have to do it. Um, I think one thing would like that I would probably towards the end was like I don't know if it was like more adjustments maybe because I think like the towards like a middle where I was like God like the hard run is not that hard anymore. It's becoming very simple. That like there was moments where I was like I think I could do more. I think I could push here more. And I think that is maybe on me too, whereas like I probably should have communicated that a lot more. Where I think one aspect that like I think on weekends is like okay like I have 20 miles. Do I need to do more fast work? Because I think sometimes it's like my body feels good. I probably should do more speed, but I think a big part of me too was the unknown territory now of that time was like it is 20 miles, so it's gonna be hard whether I do it fast or slow. So I kind of held back on that feedback because I think like my engagement was really like I need to get to London one way or another. I think I had more to risk for this race where it kind of I almost wish I would have told you more where it's like, hey, I think on the weekends we should do more speed for like feeling those later stages of the miles. Because now reflecting on that, I think that's the only thing that maybe I needed to have done a little bit more. But it's also like I think even with that, I think there was so much to risk and like getting injured and not doing the trip. So I think I'm okay with both.
Exactly, exactly. There's always a fine line because this was also the biggest volume weeks that you'd been
Yeah,
doing. So like kind of like where do we draw the line as far as like push, push, push and increase volume or
right.
just increase the volume? So
Yeah,
definitely a lot of things to consider too for your next build as far as like
yeah,
your next marathon you do like doing more aggressive quality long runs. Those always help. And I think we did a lot of that in your Chicago build. Uh,
yeah,
a lot of, I mean, in this one too, but maybe not as much.
right.
Kind of like teetering just to see like we want to make sure that we're healthy,
Yeah,
and we get there exactly like in one piece. We want to make it to the start line, so a lot to juggle. But yeah, like if there's feedback, like as far as like whatever you're like, you like, oh, like I want to see more of this, or like why am I not doing like definitely like those
yeah,
questions. That's what I'm there for.
right.
It is always like you're curious, like I don't know, like I don't want to say give me more, and then like no,
Yeah,
like not let
yeah,
you know. So it is that like balance.
yeah,
But yeah, I hear like you know, it's like be too cautious or should I do more? But you were doing like you're going almost to 70-mile weeks, so and
yeah,
that
yeah,
like you had said before, like I'd never done that, so.
yeah,
And I kept like you were like wondering like how are you dealing with the volume? How are you?
yeah,
So yeah, it could be. It'll probably be good too. Like maybe not need so much volume and do more quality speed long runs.
yeah, yeah,
So a lot of different ways to skin a cat. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we figure like what's best for you and how are you best respond to it. But yeah, like sharing that would be helpful too.
Yeah.
Um, well, I'm super thankful that I got to debrief all of this with
Yeah,
you,
yeah, no
hear
worries.
about like your own personal experience, where you came, like where you started, where you're at right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
and I definitely have noticed you grow a lot in your own like awareness. I feel like of
right.
like okay, like what is my body saying? What am I like? What can I do? Can I push it a little bit more? But yeah, I think you've done really great, and it's been super fun to team up with you along this long
Yeah, yeah,
journey that you had. But yes, I'm super excited for you and your summer training. Get that done. Get
yeah,
fast. Work on that strength, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
we'll go from there.
yeah, for sure.
Anyways, that's all for me. Anything else
Awesome.
you want to see? Anything else you want to final thoughts or anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's kind of that. I think I'm like after again this training, I don't think I have a lot of doubt, and I'm like, okay, I think I know of the stuff that is gonna work for me. I know what I could do, where I could improve. That for me, the summer is really like I'm gonna play with it because I know I'll have fundraisers and I'll just be able to enjoy it a little bit more. Uh, pull back if I need to, but I know as far as for me, it's like I kind of know where I need to be doing more and where I should be pulling back. That
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and you've learned so
Yeah,
much. Like, and you're like coaching other runners now, right? Or I saw like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the and I love that.
I think a lot of the people that I've even worked with is really like, hey, like my background again has been in training other people, where to me it's really the aspect of like trainers need trainers because
100%.
like I think there was somewhere that I heard it's like you know so much that you really don't know anything about yourself because
Yeah,
you spent so much time giving advice to people that it's really hard to take my own advice at moments where it's
exactly.
like I probably should pull back now, but I told this person not to give up today. So I think like um now that I had that aspect of that doing that as a career, like transition that into training some runners that I worked with is really just telling them like, okay, like we need to engage in a different way because like you haven't got I think some of the people I worked with is really in connection to what I've done where it's like, okay, you haven't been able to get a start without an injury. So we just need to work slowly to get there. And it's really kind of it's been fun. I think a lot of the runners that I work with are local, so it's really like being able to sometimes go run with them or show up and just have fun with it. Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. And I totally agree with you as far as like you know you might know exactly what to do. You might
yeah,
know every but having like I feel like having a coach for myself when I was in like my
yeah,
peak. Like I've been a runner
yeah,
for 20 years, what
yeah.
since college, high school, college, but I still got a coach too when I wanted to take it to
Push.
the next
Yeah,
level because even though you know exactly what to do too, it's also like we are our own worst critics. Like we're so hard on
100%.
ourselves. What I really needed was someone to just be like, chill, like it's gonna
Yeah,
be okay.
yeah,
Like just
that
really
too.
keep me grounded and just someone to
Yeah,
like process because like
yeah,
it's a mental thing, right? Like I know what to
100%.
do, and then I'm like hard on myself or like, and then it just helps. Like I don't have to think about like everything else that comes with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You just tell me what to do. I show up. I do it.
Yep, yep, yep. That's how it goes.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
love
yeah. I
that.
think
I love that.
that's always the like
Yeah.
for me is like I'm okay with knowing that like I don't know how to do it and I'm gonna learn it. So it's always the best. But perfect.
And then
Cool.
yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with
Yeah,
me about
no
all
worries.
this. And I appreciate you. And then we'll, stay connected and all that through
For
the
sure.
summer
Sounds
and
good.
stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much.
Perfect. Awesome.
All
Thank you.
right.
Awesome.
Bye.